Did you know that asking, can I save my relationship, is the same thing as asking, can I go to the washroom? Well, okay, maybe not quite exactly the same, but the concept around it is the same. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to tell you the one question you must answer before you can find out if your relationship can be saved. Plus, I'm going to give you 3 steps, a 3-step framework that you can use to help unveil the path, to uncover the pathway towards the relationship that you're wanting. Now, if that sounds good to you, give me a yes down below in the comments or a thumbs up. Let me know you are ready to take on this information and start applying it to your relationship right now. Ready? Awesome. Let's start. Now, the one thing we can count on in life is that we will have relationships and there will be struggles. Our communication, there's conflict, desires and values and wants are all kind of mixed in together, and sometimes they come up against each other and we have conflict. Now, no relationship is immune to having struggles, and the potentially destructive nature of conflict is always lurking in the background. And so we really want to be making sure we're answering this one question instead of asking, can my relationship be saved? And I'm going to get to that question in a minute. So the goal is to work together to solve problems and prevent the relationship from deteriorating to the point that it becomes necessary that we're asking the question, can this relationship be saved? Let me take you back to when I was in grade 12. My math teacher provided me with a very important grammatical lesson that I didn't necessarily appreciate back then, but I definitely can relate to it right now. And so when I was in math class, we're all working away diligently at our individual kind of work. Music's playing in the background. It's a very relaxing environment. And I needed to go to the washroom. So I went up to the teacher and I waited for my turn because he was working with the student. And as I approached the desk, I asked, can I go to the washroom? And he repeated, or he answered, you have the ability, don't you? I don't know. Does this mean I can go or I can't go? Do I move? Do I go back and sit down? I didn't know what that was. Like, that really wasn't an answer to me, and I wasn't sure how to deal with it. And he could see that I was like uncertain, and I'm really like starting to fidget because I have to go to the bathroom. And he's like, I think the question you're asking is, may I? And I didn't appreciate the grammatical lesson in such an urgent moment. But now looking back on it, I recognize that words matter. So when someone asks me, can this relationship be saved? I'm like, 100% yes, it can. There is no question in my mind that a relationship can be saved. I mean, I have seen people survive through infidelity, through financial losses, through addictions, you name it. Relationships have managed to work through those issues. So can refers to an ability, a skill set, or a knowledge that you are able to accomplish something, that you have the ability to implement a process to achieve a goal. That's what can means. So when people ask me, can my relationship be saved? Absolutely 100%. So it's not a matter of whether it can be saved. The question you should be asking, and the one you need to answer, is, do I want to save this relationship? The definition of want is simply to have a desire or a need to accomplish a particular task or outcome. And so I can learn French, or I can learn how to dance, but the effort that I put in is related to the desire and the wanting of it. Where is the motivation? And so asking me, can this relationship be saved? Yes. But asking yourself, do I want this relationship to be saved, has a very different feel and a very different outcome. Now, if you want a relationship to last, I'm going to give you 3 questions that you can answer and work through to help you move towards that resolution. Question number 1. Am I willing to do anything to save this relationship? Now, I recommend you ask yourself this question over the course of several days and throughout the same day, because as you know, there will be moments where you are like, hell no, I'm out of here. I am not staying for this kind of stuff. And then an hour later, you might be having those heart-melting moments where you're like, oh, this is what I want. You can use a scale like a 0 to 10. 0 is I'm out of here, and 10 is I'm rolling up my sleeves right now, implementing strategies to make this work. Kind of rate yourself over the next couple of days to see where your average pulse is on that scale. Now, if after a few days you are feeling like, yeah, I want to move forward with this, I really do want to save this, my desire is to save this relationship, you have more days above a 5 out of 10 than you have under a 5 out of 10, then we can put some other things into motion. So step number 2 is to define what you want out of this relationship. So really write down what would be success for you. What does it look like? Because if you don't know where you're going, you can't hit the target. So is this about having financial freedom? Is this about having more connection and conversation? Is this about fighting less? Is this about getting aligned with how many kids you're going to have or the work hours you're going to keep? What is it that will define success for you? I want to tell you a story. I had a friend call me one day after she got married, and she was tearful and really surprised and sad that her relationship didn't shift. She had imagined that once they were married, it would become like that soap opera life, that he would look at her adoringly and carry her over the threshold. And what was so shocking to me was they had actually lived together for years before they got married. But it just hadn't been a realization of hers that life before marriage would be the same after marriage. So being really clear on your expectations and understanding what is possible, realistic, and achievable will help you move into the next step. So you want to ask yourself, do our visions match? Am I being realistic, or am I sacrificing so much to be in this relationship that is where my suffering is coming from? Does he or she want the same thing as I do? Now, this isn't just for your interpersonal relationships. These are your work relationships, your friend relationships. We sacrifice in a lot of different areas, and you want to make sure that you're working towards something really great. Now, when you start to see that you are aligned, but that there are these gaps in how to get there or when to get there, then you can start to build the bridges towards connection. So step number 3 is to look at the past and see, what have I tried? What did work, like what moved me forward, and what didn't work, what took me backwards or kept me stuck. Because we want to eliminate the things that are not working, and we want to focus our attention on those things that are working. I want to share an example with you how these 3 steps can help you to create a pathway for success. So let me give you an example of how this can work for you. I've been married for 20 years, and we've definitely had our trials, our ups and downs, and we were on the cycle of we would fight, we'd break up, I'd move out, we'd make up, I'd move back in, we would fight, we'd break up, I'd move out, we'd make up, I'd move back in. That was our beginning years, and so we really had to do some work early on in our relationship to figure out our shit. But that doesn't mean it came easy or naturally. It was a process over many years. And so here we are now 20 years later, and there are still moments where I feel like I'm craving connection with him. And so the first question is, am I willing to do something about it? Well, yeah, I've been with this man for 20 years. I love him, and I definitely want him in my life long term. So absolutely, yes, I am willing to do something about this. Step number 2, what do I want? Well, I know that it's the moments of disconnection where I want to feel connected. And so when I look at those moments, I start to focus on my environment, I recognize that one thing stands out the most. When we sit down to have a meal, we both have our phones, and we're both checking text messages. And when I don't have it, I really notice how we're not talking. There's no conversation. And so for me, that's a moment where I can make a change. So you see, when I identify the will and I find a place where I want to build on something, I recognize the path reveals itself. Now, when I look at the past efforts, I used to try to make suggestions to him like, oh, who are you texting? Or, well, you're really quiet tonight. I was very passive aggressive in my approach, and I realized that's not working. So I need to change it up, and maybe I need to bring him in on the conversation. So you can see how these 3 simple steps can help you get clarity as to whether or not this is a relationship of value that you want to save versus can I save it? Because just because I can save it doesn't mean I want it, right? So there it is, guys. Words do matter. When you're asking, can my relationship be saved? Really think about what you're really wanting. Are you asking for support, or for someone just to say, yeah, no worries, you got this, and just kind of be a cheerleader? Or are you wondering, do I even have the skill set? Now, I don't want to leave you hanging, because if you are wanting to fix your relationship and you're struggling with the how and what do I say? I have a free download for you at Safe Conversational Starters, and it goes over 10 things that you can say when you see offensive behavior. It's just a really kind way to bring things up, but it also teaches you how to use a perception check. Now, that was a magical tool in my marriage and my work relationships. You can head over to relationshiprevolution.ca, click on Safe Conversational Starters. I will also put a link down below in the comments. Now, if you'd like to do a little bit more deeper work with me, I do have a masterclass that I run, the Relationship Revolution Masterclass, where we focus on conquering conflict through conversation. And you can apply for that as well at the website, and I'll put another link below here for you. Be sure to catch all of my videos here on this station because they are all focused on helping you improve your relationships and moving them towards a healthy, happy place. P.S. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. This helps me get this content out to other people who are looking for this information right now. You could be the person that tips it over and brings it to their attention. Just by doing all of those activities, you help get this content towards people who need it the most. There are people searching just like you, and they need to see this message. Let's spread the word together.